2023 will go down as one of the most memorable years of recent times for movies, both for better and for worse. However, there is no denying that it was a landmark year for the box office, primarily led by the massive success of Barbenheimer, the double bill featuring Barbie and Oppenheimer. The worldwide box office of 2023 saw a 31% increase over that of 2022. But that is not the subject of today's video. Instead, I am going to be focusing on those that flew under the radar, the hidden gems, the diamonds in the rough, the most underrated and overlooked movies of the year. Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, I am going to be counting down my top 10 picks for the most overlooked and underrated movies of 2023. Often at the end of the year, you typically see videos or articles focusing on the best movies of the year, or the biggest movies of the year, or the biggest flops of the year, but it's not too often that people shine the light on the little movies that could, those that maybe didn't make a killing at the box office, maybe nobody saw, or maybe it kind of just came and went and no one's really talking about it anymore. But that's what I want to do today. Before I hop into the actual top 10 itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my top 10 videos. There are plenty in there, so if top 10 movie videos are your thing, then be sure to check that playlist out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. If you've been following my channel for any period of time, then you will know it's very much so the status quo for my top 10s to not be actual top 10s, because I always have honorable mentions. And today's honorable mentions are The Boogeyman and Theater Camp. And for today, my number 10 pick is going to be Bottoms. Now, Bottoms wasn't a movie that I absolutely adored by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I did find it a little underwhelming to a certain degree, but that's just because there was such overwhelmingly positive word of mouth and buzz. A lot of people were saying it's like a 4 out of 5, 4.5, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, one of the best movies of the year, and so on. And although it didn't quite hit that caliber, that level for me, I did really enjoy myself, and all of that comes down to the cast. Now, I thought the story went a bit off the rails in the end, but it's basically like a quirky, offbeat fight club for girls in high school. It is just, the humor is very odd. It's unlike anything I had really seen at that point, but there's a lot in here that's still very relatable. There's a lot in here that's like just super charming and super unique, and I did chuckle, and I did enjoy the fight scenes, and I did enjoy the emotional beats in this movie. It is nowhere near my top 10 of the year or anything like that. I still do think that more people should go out and watch this one. I'm sure that there is a greater audience out there for it that will like it a lot more than I did. For number 9, I'm going to be going with The Covenant. Now, this was a Jake Gyllenhaal-led war movie that for the longest time I thought was based on a true story, but it turns out it's not based on a true story, but nevertheless, still extremely enjoyable. But honestly, don't go into this movie expecting and looking for that, like, another incredible Oscar-worthy Jake Gyllenhaal performance, because you're not going to find it in here. However, who you should go into this movie for is Dar Salim, who I think gives a vastly superior performance to Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, I think there are some pacing issues with this movie here and there, and I think some of the story beats are very been there, done that, very familiar, but it's Dar Salim's performance, it is the journey, and the extremely punchy action sequences that make this one worth your time. Number 8 is a pick that has got a lot of mixed reviews, but I personally really enjoyed it, and it really struck a nerve with me, and that was Totally Killer. It's basically Back to the Future meets Scream. Now, some of the characters are just flat out annoying. Like, it's just, you're instantly irritated when they show up on screen. A lot of stupid choices, a lot of the typical slasher tropes. However, I loved our leads. I thought the killer was actually relatively memorable, like one of the more memorable in recent memory. The kills are brutal and gory and just all kinds of fun, and the comedy worked like 80% of the time. There are some moments where you could tell that they're trying to be funny and they're just trying way too hard, but there is a lot in here that I did find to be very funny. I liked the time traveling elements, but here's the thing, you're gonna know right away if you're going to buy into this movie or not, because if you cannot stretch your believability to just kind of accept the fact that they use some old like photo booth as a time machine that a high schooler did for a science fair project, if you can't buy into that and say, okay, this is the kind of movie I'm getting, then you're not going to enjoy this. But I was able to buy into it, I was along for the ride, and I ended up really enjoying my time with Totally Killer. Number 7 is another one that a lot of people are probably going to disagree with because we get like 3 of these movies a year, and that's the Gerard Butler-led Plane. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Gerard Butler makes pretty much the same movie, like I said, 3 times a year. Like he even had Mission Kandahar or something like that this very year. And I actually thought Plane was very well done. I loved the action in here. I thought Mike Colter was a great co-lead, and this is one of Gerard Butler's better performances. Like the guy plays the same character in everything, and I only really like that character from time to time. But I love that character in here too because he puts a spin on it where there are actual people like there with him. He's not a lone wolf this time. He's trying to protect the passengers of his plane. He's committed. Now I think there's definitely some very loose things in here when it comes to like losing track of a plane, how they track the plane down, how that whole thing works, all that stuff. There's a lot of like fluffy bullshit that you know is just writers being writers, but when it comes to the action, when it comes to the stakes, the more intense moments, and that duo of Butler and Colter, I actually really had a good time with this. For number 6, we are delving into the comic book pages for the adaptation of Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is one of my all-time favorite DC characters, so you know I was there opening night for his big screen live-action debut, and to me at least, for the most part, it didn't disappoint. Now the reason it ends up on the most underrated overlooked list is because this movie did not do well at the box office at all, and the reviews were very mixed. Now I can see where some people are coming from. The villains were pretty terrible, not gonna lie. When you have Susan Sarandon and that's all she does is just phone it in, that sucks. And the movie overall feels very been there, done that. It seems like almost a straight rip in some places of the first Iron Man movie. However, the lead actor and the family with like George Lopez and a few others here and there is really what makes this whole experience worthwhile and what makes it one of the most underrated and overlooked movies of the year, on top of some extremely fun action sequences. Like, there is great practical effects in here. The CGI is actually very, very solid, like better than most other superhero movies we got this year. So between our marvelous lead and the superb family dynamic, like their chemistry was great. It was very genuine, very authentic, some well-timed comedy, and some really truly exciting action sequences. I think this is a comic book movie that a lot of people slept on. My number 5 pick is a straight to Hulu / Disney Plus if you're anywhere outside of the United States release, and that is No One Will Save You. I don't know if it was well advertised what the whole like gimmick is for this movie, so if there is no advertising for it, I don't want to spoil it for you because it's something that I truly didn't even catch on to until 30 minutes into the movie. And then when it clicked, I was like, holy shit, they got 30 minutes into this 90-minute runtime without me realizing what they were doing. And just the sound design and the sound mixing in this movie is some of the best of like the last decade. It is so clever. It is so expertly done. This is one of the most unique horror movies in that regard that I have seen in a long time. I loved the score. Caitlin Dever proves what a powerhouse of an actress she is. She's able to express so much with saying very little. Every little micro detail she throws in here, it pays off in spades. The alien design, at least for like the general, like the main aliens, the walking guys, is very, very generic. But again, I loved the sound in this movie. I loved the score. I loved the cinematography. And it's honestly best to go in like I did, knowing very, very little. My number 4 pick is arguably the most wholesome movie of this past year, and that's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Now, I am not someone who grew up with these books. I knew what they are, I knew that they existed, but they never tickled my fancy, they were never my thing, and I went into this movie with, middling expectations. I knew that I wasn't the target audience, but the reviews were so positive that I was like, I have to give it a shot, and boy oh boy, I am so glad I did. I think you're gonna have a great time, because this is just such a wholesome movie, and I loved every single second of it, and it pains me to know that there are so many people out there who don't even know that this movie released, who don't know where to find it, who haven't even given it a second thought after hearing about it. It is one of the most heartfelt and sweet movies you could watch of the past few years, so I definitely recommend it. My number 3 pick is When Evil Lurks. Now, this is a foreign horror movie, so if you're not someone who does subtitles for whatever reason, this probably won't be for you. I feel like if you don't watch foreign movies with subtitles, you're missing out on like a whole half of the world of movies. There is so much out there, so much left to offer you. This is one from last year that is not only ending up on this list today, but you will also see on my favorite movies of the year list, because this has to be one of the most shocking, brutal, visceral viewing experiences I've had in quite a long while. Every time you think to yourself, they're not going to go there, they're not going to do this, and if they did, they're not going to show it, they do. They go there, they do it, they show it. This movie is hard-hitting. It is relentless. If just extremely shocking and disturbing shit freaks you out, then this movie might freak you out a little bit. Because it does take things extremely far, but it does so tastefully and all in service of the story. It also has one of the most bleak endings, if not arguably the most bleak ending since like The Mist. My number 2 pick, the runner-up on this list, and the runner-up for probably the most wholesome movie of the year, maybe also the most wholesome movie of the year, maybe it's a tie. Nevertheless, it's The Holdovers. I don't remember the last time I saw a movie and thought instantly, this is a classic. Like, this movie is the definition of an instant classic. This is going to be a Christmas time rewatch for me for the foreseeable future. Paul Giamatti absolutely deserves to be nominated for the Oscar. Divine Joy Randolph deserves to be nominated for the Oscar. And newcomer Dominic Sessa deserves so much more praise than he is getting, because without him, that key piece of the puzzle, this movie does not work. This trio is one of my favorite trios in a good long while. They work their magic together from start to finish. The movie has this very dry, offbeat humor, but it landed with me every single time. There are so many wholesome moments. There are so many life lessons worth learning for all ages, because these 3 people couldn't be any different. Their stories are so completely different. They come from completely different walks of life, yet through this vicarious situation, they are brought together over the holidays by themselves, and by the end of the movie, you just feel so fulfilled. It is such a satisfying and gratifying ending. It's one of my favorite endings of the entire year. I implore you to check out The Holdovers. It's unfortunate that the Christmas season is already come and gone, because it is perfect for that time of year. But my number 1 pick for the most underrated and overlooked movie of the year is easily Nimona. The Netflix original animated movie, to me, is one of the best animated movies probably of all time. Yeah, I genuinely think it's up there. Maybe not the top 5 or top 3 or something like that. I would love to see Nimona take home the Oscar this year. This movie is just, I adore what this movie stands for. The messages that this movie has, and that they're crafted so carefully and with so much love and so much care and passion. I love it. I think the animation is gorgeous. I was laughing my ass off from start to finish. The comedy is just so well placed. The voice performances are top tier, and the story does way more than I expected in terms of twists and turns, and just always keeps you guessing, always keeps you wanting more. But above all else, it really is what this movie stands for, and it's just such a beautiful, well-crafted tale. Like I said, this movie is not getting anywhere near enough award buzz. This movie, like, I don't even know if they released the numbers from Netflix for, like, the viewership numbers. I feel like it just came and went. Like, they advertised it for, like, 3 days, and then Netflix just swept it under the rug, and I don't know why. This movie is spectacular, it is worth your time, and for me personally at least, it is without a doubt the most underrated and overlooked movie of 2023. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my top 10 picks. While you're at it, don't forget to let me know what your top 10 picks would be for the most underrated and overlooked movies of 2023. If you're a movie lover whatsoever, then my channel is the place to be for you. Be it top 10 videos like this one, ranking videos, tier videos, versus videos, I have it all and so much more, with plenty going on behind the scenes that I promise will be revealed soon, and well over 1,000 videos currently on the channel for you to enjoy. So if you enjoyed this particular video, then be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and if any of that sounds like it's right for you and you want to see more from me, then smash that subscribe button right now. While you're at it, don't forget to ring that little bell icon, that way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap.
Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.